Next portion of our program today, we will be talk about social justice and equity. We want to be sure we highlight this, as we know a lot of things are happening across our nation, and we want to make sure that our students and families are equipped on navigating this new space that they are in now in their new schools. All students are coming from Hartford, and they will be attending one of our 27 partnering districts, where we may likely see a different shift in culture, right? And that's something that our students and families were exposed to. So we want to be sure that we are providing you with the tools for success in case a situation may arise at the school that your child is attending, that you have the tools in the office contact information and the staff here at the Department of Open Choice and what we can do to best support you. And to best support you and to talk about these tools that and how to navigate that when you are encounter that situation in your district, I want to introduce you our diversity and inclusion coordinator, Gloria Francesca Mengual, who she will be talking about this topic today. Gloria.
Welcome, everyone, and congratulations on your child becoming part of the Open Choice program. I want to go through some terminology before I get into some of the services that we offer. And I'd like to start with racism, and racism being a very complex system of beliefs and behaviors. And underlying all of that is the supposed superiority that is presumed by many of the white race. And these superiority feelings could be implicit. In other words, the person is just not conscious of it, or it can be explicit. So people are very conscious of it. And when I talk about that, I'm really talking about it on multiple levels. There's the personal level, you know, a white kid calls a black kid the N-word. That's the personal one-on-one level. But there's also the systemic level and the institutional level, which has to do with policies in school, which are not equitable. And then there are just policies in overall society that have existed for hundreds of years that are even more invisible, that impact us to this day. So a simpler definition of racism is racial prejudice, prejudice being, you know, take the word apart, prejudging. You know, when someone who is not of color prejudges a person who is of color and comes to some stereotypical conclusions, that's a prejudice. But that's all in their head and in their heart. You don't see it. But then when you combine that with power and they take action on what they're doing, that is racism. So in terms of racial equity, that is a goal. That is definitely not a reality in this country, but a goal that we all hope to achieve. And it's a condition that would be achieved if everyone, regardless of their race, fared the same and had the same types of outcomes, regardless of the color of their skin. So we're thinking about racial equity as one part of racial justice, and we also include work to address the root causes of those inequities. So this includes eliminating policies, practices, and attitudes, and the cultural messages that reinforce different outcomes by race, or fail to eliminate them. As I often say to educators, you know, you can do something, or you can look the other way when you see racism, do nothing. And either way, you're doing something. And when you do nothing, it could be something very harmful. So, as we all know, with the killing of George Floyd, it really brought back to life the Black Lives Matter movement, which already had existed following Michael Brown's murder, and then followed Tamir Rice and Philando Castile and Eric Garner. And, you know, I could cover the next half hour with more names of people who were murdered based on basically the color of their skin. But there was something about the death of George Floyd, his murder, that caused a shift in us. And I think part of it was COVID. You know, we weren't so preoccupied with life. We were stuck in our houses. We had more time to really see stuff on TV. But for whatever reason, it really caused people in this country to just be, oh my, what are we about and why is this happening? And it's unfortunate, but therein lies the blessing of a very horrible thing that is just one example of a series of things that have been happening for hundreds of years. So I would like to take the opportunity, and I show this film segment when I do a workshop in exploring by design for middle schoolers. So, we have middle schoolers for 3 weeks over the summer. And I just want to point out to them their parents' perspective. And I just thought this is a really good parent perspective to share with you, which I'm sure many of you will nod your heads and say, yep, I feel like that. I'm going to, I don't know, can I click on this, Carla? If it doesn't work, I do have it as a backup and I can go to my own. Oh, it worked. Good deal. So we're just going to take a few minutes to hear parents' perspectives on their children living in a white society and their concern for them. Do you know if we have sound? Did you click the sound box? I don't hear anything right now. Are they both clicked?
Go ahead, Gloria, go ahead and do your video.
So I'm the co-host now?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm gonna minimize and get into my video. Let's see.
Georgia, growing up in the deep
Can
south.
people hear that? I want to make sure people hear it before I continue playing it.
Yep, go ahead.
Oh, great.
Rob, my older brother had this conversation. But then it's more of like, wear a condom, do this. It's like it's like little man.
Let me go back to.
My father's conversation with me was daily.
My grandfather talked to me as a black man from Augusta, Georgia, growing up in the deep south.
It's probably Rob, my older brother had this conversation. But then it's more of like, wear a condom, do this. It's like little man lessons.
When a cop pulls you over.
When you get pulled over, not if you get pulled over.
At some point, you will get pulled over. And here is how you act.
As a young black man growing up in New York, I've had, a few run-ins with the police and being completely innocent.
The people pull us out of the car, throw us on the floor. It's in February, so it's like snow and slush and stuff on the ground. Put their knees in our back, put the guns to our head.
As I'm putting my hands on the steering wheel so I don't make the police nervous, I realized how nervous I was. And then I realized my children were nervous.
The thing that people say is you have to talk to him before he experiences racism himself. But when is that?
He is going to turn into a large, scary black man. And that's not who he is, but that's how he will be perceived. I know what this kid's going, he's going to look like him. I know what he's going to look like. when
I'm a large, scary black man.
you are a large, scary black man. Okay,
That's a problem in and of itself.
and that's a problem.
I am not large nor scary.
I can't do anything with that.
I'm short. Anyway, go ahead.
It's frightening, and I'm being very light when I use the word frightening.
If something goes wrong, your first line of defense, your parents not being there, is to go to the police.
If you're Caucasian.
So, but I mean,
Yes,
still,
that's what you teach your children. Unfortunately, it can't work for black children, right?
It doesn't mean that every police officer is inherently a bad person. But what it does mean is that the police force, that institution, does not look out for your best interests.
There's this unspoken code of racism and white supremacy that says that my life does not matter.
You can put your hands up and say and cooperate and say that I'm choking and still be killed, and then there's no repercussions.
It's maddening. I get so frustrated and angry about having to prepare my kids for something that they're not responsible for.
And these are conversations that people of other races do not have to have with their children.
The conversation with him was really just, look, you're a beautiful young boy.
Being an African American is a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful blessing. You have come from great people, but it's also a hard thing.
In America, because of your skin color, as a black boy and as a black man, we are going to be dealing with a lot of danger.
Under no circumstance are you to talk to the police if you're arrested until I get there.
Do what they say. Don't get into any arguments.
Make sure your hands are out of your pockets so they can see.
These are the questions you can ask. This is who to call. This is what happens if this bad thing. It's not like, please, master, don't whip me. No, it's like, excuse me, sir, what is your badge number? I'm going to film this.
If you want police brutality to stop, if you want police to treat you like a human being, then you have to see yourself as a human being.
You have every right in this world that anyone else does.
What I love about you as my son is I remember when we thought about having you and, knowing that we wanted you and watching you grow.
You are the Muhammad Ali, you are the Malcolm X, you are the Martin Luther King.
You are an amazing young man, and the future is yours.
And I will do my best to make sure you're safe. That's it. I love you.
So I show that to you because there are a couple of parts of that segment that we also, like I mentioned, we showed to middle schoolers. And some of the main points are, yes, a reminder that, your parents love you and are there for you, which they obviously already know, but also to, all right, I've got to get on the screen and turn those people off. All right, sorry about that, folks. We don't need to know about accidents. So I just felt this is a really important piece to show because it shows not only parental concern and love, and I will tell you that the middle schoolers who see this, like, half of them are all teary-eyed at the end of it and say, my parents would feel like that too. I know they love me too. And also, I really like the piece where the parent says, it's not like you don't want to grovel and be like, oh, yes, master. It's like, what is your badge number? Because we want to teach our youth to have a voice and respectfully show it. And that's really what comes out in this video and what we talk about after we show it. So the bottom line is there are challenges that exist in school systems. And at the elementary school level, you could see from this scenario, it might be, and this has actually happened, where a student from Hartford was told by another student in a playground in a suburban school district, I can't play with you. And when she asked why, she said, well, because you're Black, which can be a pretty painful thing to hear. Or at the middle and high school level, there's the whole back and forth about the N-word. And hey, will you give me a pass to use the N-word? And offensive postings on social media have skyrocketed. Stuff happens. I mean, this country is where it is right now. And we all know it's a really difficult place to be. But that being said, I also want to share with you that while people are being much more abrasive and showing their racism much more openly than they might have years ago. And I don't know if it's because of George Floyd or just all of the incidents that have been there of racism that are constantly in the media. But I will say that when I started 5 years ago, school districts were like, oh, you do work on racism, thanks a lot. Okay, we'll let you know if we need you. And now I do workshops and they fill up within a week or two, and there's a waiting list and I have to offer it again because teachers in primarily white school districts are saying this is wrong and we need to do our part to make it better. We don't know how. Walk us through it. So therein lies the hope of this moment. It's a horrible time historically, and it's an opportunity, and it will be a really short open window of receptive, parents being receptive, teachers being receptive and wanting to learn and know more, but that's where we are right now. And we at Open Choice are really taking advantage of that and offering all the professional development we can to educators and school districts who are hungry to get it because they're worried about your children and they care about them is what I'm hearing. So there are various modes of communications to be had with school districts. And some of you might have heard a lot from school districts and wondering, whoa, I'm bombarded. Our ask to you is to please respond because you really are part of that team. It's not we're doing for your kids, we're doing with you for your children. So you are part of the team. So the best thing to do is be really clear from the start and let the school know, please stop emailing me. I'm really much better with text, or maybe you like email better, but let the school know your preferred mode of communication and they will follow that. But they don't read minds, so they'll bombard you with something you might not be able to handle at all and not respond to. So best to just define that from the very beginning. And if a situation does become tense, our advice is please contact the school first and remain open to hearing both sides of the story. You've heard your child's side. I ask you to take a breath and hear the teachers or the administrator's side and then move forward together. And please let Open Choice staff know about that. And if you need to think through things because you're pretty upset about what your child described to you, call us. We have wonderful staff that are there that will be great sounding boards. Sometimes you just need to hear yourself talk and then you know how you want to move forward. And sometimes you really could use some really good advice, which our staff is available to provide to you, but we are a team. It doesn't end with registration. Please use our services. I want to end with a commentary by Jay Smooth. how to tell someone they sound racist. Because, you could be 100% right, but the way you convey your message could all of a sudden move you to the wrong column, and you don't want to go there. So Jade Smooth, in a very funny way, talks about something called nonviolent communications, and about holding the person responsible, not for who they are, because we don't really know who they are. But we can hold them responsible for exactly what they said or what they did. And I think rather than try to get it from the PowerPoint, if I could, great. So I will go to my computer slide and show it from here. Can you hear it? You can't hear it? All right, let me go back. I have to.
What feed you aggregate, it seems like every.
Can you hear it now?
Yep, good.
Oh, we're good? Okay.
Everybody everywhere is talking about race right now. And when everybody everywhere is talking about race, that means race, the final frontier. No matter what channel you watch, no matter what feed you aggregate, it seems like everybody everywhere is talking about race right now. And when everybody everywhere is talking about race, that means sooner or later you're going to have to tell somebody that they said something that sounded racist. So you need to be ready and have a plan in place for how to approach the inevitable that sounded racist conversation. And I'm going to tell you how to do that. The most important thing that you've got to do is remember the difference between the what they did conversation and the what they are conversation. Those are two totally different conversations, and you need to make sure that you pick the right one. The what they did conversation focuses strictly on the person's words and actions and explaining why what they did and what they said was unacceptable. This is also known as the that thing you said was racist conversation, and that's the conversation that you want to have. The what they are conversation, on the other hand, takes things one step further and uses what they did and what they said to draw conclusions about what kind of person they are. This is also known as the I think you are a racist conversation. This is the conversation you don't want to have, because that conversation takes us away from the facts of what they did and the speculation about their motives and intentions, and those are things you can only guess at, you can't ever prove, and that makes it way too easy for them to derail your whole argument. And that is the part that's crucial to understand. When you say, I think he's a racist, that's not a bad move because you might be wrong. That's a bad move because you might be right. Because if that dude really is racist, you want to make sure you hold him accountable and don't let him off easy. And even though intuitively it feels like the hardest way to hit him is just run up on him and say, I think your ass is racist, when you handle it that way, you're actually letting him off easy, because you're setting up a conversation that's way too simple for him to derail and duck out of. Just think about how this plays out every time a politician or a celebrity gets caught out there. It always starts out as a what they did conversation, but as soon as the celebrity and their defenders get on camera, they start doing judo flips and switching it into a what they are conversation. I have known this person for years, and I know for a fact that they are not a racist, and how dare you claim to know what's inside their soul just because they made one little joke about watermelon tap dancing and going back to Africa. And then you try and explain that we don't need to see inside their soul to know that they shouldn't have said all that about the watermelon, and you try to focus on the facts of the situation, but by then it's too late, because the what they are conversation is a rhetorical Bermuda Triangle where everything drowns in a sea of empty posturing until somebody just blames it all on hip-hop and we forget the whole thing ever happens. Don't let this happen to you. When somebody picks my pocket, I'm not going to be chasing him down so I can figure out whether he feels like he's a thief deep down in his heart. I'm going to be chasing him down so I can get my wallet back. I don't care what he is, but I need to hold him accountable for what he did. And that's how we need to approach these conversations about race. Treat them like they took your wallet and focus on the part that matters, holding each person accountable for the impact of their words and actions. I don't care what you are. I care about what you did.
So I know this is going to start playing something else, so let me turn that off. Okay, So as he said, the main points are holding the person accountable for what they did or said, not what he is. So it's almost like take a snapshot of what just happened with your child in the school or with you and an administrator or a teacher and describe that. And don't draw conclusions, that are your opinion. Really, if you stick with the facts, nobody can back away from that. Because if you don't want to let them off easy by giving them a chance to get defensive and derail the conversation. So stick to facts and also assume the best, that the other person you're talking to also wants the best for your child, and you're going to come to that common goal together. So if that's a start point and that's where the other person's coming from, very likely that's the journey you'll take together. And so some of the social justice programs are the Youth Empowerment Summit, which you heard about, Exploring by Design. And please check in with your resource specialists. And I provide trainings and professional development for school staff as well as youth. And I will say staff right now in school districts are very receptive to social justice training. They want it. They want to do better. The light bulb has gone off. They're aware and they want to change things. So let's all work together and take that opportunity, run with it, and make this world a better place. And I really think we have that little window of opportunity to do that right now. So in terms of resources, you have the teacher, your school counselor, your school administrator, and many school districts have what's called an open choice liaison. If you're not introduced to that liaison or told about him or her, please check in with the person from Open Choice, whether that be the family engagement specialist or the resource specialist, and ask them about it, because I would say most school districts do have someone designated as the Open Choice liaison. And of course, please stay in communication with your resource specialists here at Open Choice, as well as the family engagement specialist. As I mentioned earlier, it doesn't end with getting into the program and registering and getting a school district assigned. That's just the beginning of our relationship. Please take advantage of services we continue to offer. You will receive a copy of this PowerPoint, and there are links here that talk about code switching. There are 3 videos here, and I would strongly recommend you take a look at them. And also share them with your child to talk about code switching. Code switching being, depending on the audience you're with, you behave differently. When I'm out with my girls on a Thursday night, when I used to be able to go out for happy hour, I'm different than when I'm at church with the elders. I mean, we practice different behaviors depending on the audience, and that's what that gets into. So it is a worthwhile thing to look at and with your child, and just reflect on. And I'm not sure who does.
Yep. Just some things that we want to make sure that our families know: medical issues and medications. Please notify your child's school with any changes of the medical status. It's really important that your school districts and your schools are up to date. Department of Child and Family School employees are required by law to report any suspicions regarding potential abuse of neglect, including educational neglect. Absentee truancy, so make sure that that you know that as well. Keep in contact with information up to date with Open Choice staff and transportation department. Kiana mentioned it earlier today. It's so vital and so important in case of emergencies that we have your updated information on file, on record, in case we need to contact you. Make sure you have your emergency contacts on that with the school staff provided telephone number, emails. change of residency, make sure that you contact the school district, but you contact us as well at the choice of department as well, and share with the school if something significant happened in the family or community that impacts your child's learning, so that we can be there to support you firsthand. That's why our family engagement specialists are here, myself and our resource specialists, to support you and make your experience in your school district much better. Please remember to, if a school-wide emergency occurs, how we will contact you. It's really important that this information is provided to the family, to your school district, so that they are aware of any changes. Again, connect with your school, attend school events, attend orientation, communicate regularly with classroom teachers, connect with Open Choice and school via social media and classroom. Please follow us on Facebook, on Twitter. We are on Instagram for any events that we always post on our social media. Have support around transportation. Remember, if you can't, then who? Absences and tardies, missing the bus is not an excuse of absence. Schedule doctor's appointments 1/2 a days of the school, or around school vacation, or after school. Connecticut state law dictates how the school will handle absences and tardies. Call the absence line to report your child's absence. And when I say child's line, the school, make sure you have the contact information. So if your child is not attending school, be sure to please let your school administrators know that your child is not attending school. Resources, district policy and procedures, attendance works, Hartford Youth Service Bureau referral, and Department of Child and Children and Families are some of the resources that we work with in the community of the city of Hartford. Again, here's some in-contact information from our CREC School Choice Office, our main line, and also our website, and for you to in CREC's Transportation Department phone number, and also our website for any information that you may need. Again, thank you, Gloria Francesca Mengual, for the social equity piece that you share with our families. Thank you, Kiana Jackson Ash, for providing the meaningful information that parents may need daily in regards to any questions that come up. They have your contact information. Again, thank you to the staff for also providing the great information about our programs. We thank you. This is our session for today. We hope that any questions that you may have, you'll be able to reach out to us. You have our contact information. Follow us on social media. Thank you again.